We all experience fear differently, from the phobias of spiders and snakes to the overwhelming thoughts of public speaking and social anxiety. Fear seems to trap us, hold us back, and prevents us from living life to the fullest. But what if I told you there was a way to escape its grasp, either by lessening its effect on you or by making it your ally rather than your friend? In this video, we're going to explore the idea of fear, how to change our perception of it, and some steps we can take to overcome it. These actionable tips will apply to every kind of fear, and it's helped me massively in many different areas of my life over the last few years. Let's get into it. So one of the most fundamental things we need to know about fear is the idea that it's not objectively a bad emotion. It's a total normal, natural, and healthy response designed to protect us from danger in the face of threat. It's important to realize this when we find ourselves faced with anxiety, dread, or terror. It's because our bodies are reacting very normally to something we perceive as being dangerous. It triggers a flight or fight response, releasing adrenaline and cortisol, which gives us the energy we need in order to escape this danger. It's not the fear response itself, it's what we're responding to at times that can be unhelpful. In the past, our ancestors needed to have a very conservative view on what was dangerous, because any little thing from a rustling in the bush could be a tiger about to attack, or when you see a group of people you don't recognize, it could be a neighboring tribe looking to invade. Having an oversensitive and heightened view on danger is what helped them survive in the first place. Fast forward to the modern day and things are very different. We no longer need that overactive and heightened sense of fear and danger and protection. We live in a relatively safe time now, but the problem is our genetics, our physiology hasn't caught up with our culture and society. Nearly every fear we experience stems from uncertainty, and so the approach we need to take is facing these fears, challenging our beliefs, and proving to ourselves that it's not as bad as we once thought. If we replace this uncertainty with helpful and accurate truths, we can let go of these fears and live to our full potential. I'm going to use a specific example to explain. A study found that public speaking, or glossophobia, is the #1 ranked fear among adults, with over 75% of people ranking it as their #1 fear. But where does it come from, and why is it such a prominent cause for anxiety? Most of it arises from our deep-rooted fear of being judged negatively by others. Once again, in the past, if you were judged negatively by others, you could be cast out of your tribe, left to fend by yourself and survive in the wilderness on your own. This would almost certainly spell disaster, as it goes against the principle of strength in numbers. We are stronger together, but weaker alone. But we no longer live hunter-gatherer lifestyles, so we need to accept that not giving a perfect speech or being nervous on stage is not detrimental to our performance and often aids it in the first place. The way to fix this belief that you're not good enough for public speaking is to prove it to yourself slowly over time. In psychology, we call this process exposure therapy. The goal is to help individuals confront and overcome their fears by gradually and systematically exposing themselves to the fear in a controlled and safe and nurturing environment. One of the reasons why this works is because of our brain's propensity to automate tasks. We move these thoughts from our conscious and more limited part of our brain to our unconscious and much more powerful part of the brain, where things become automated and that feeling of being overwhelmed, that feeling of anxiety slowly diminishes over time. If you've ever learned to drive, you'll probably remember that feeling of being overstimulated and nervous with every little thing that passes you, everything that's already passed you. It could be the car that's on the other side of the road. It's because when we're learning to do these things in the first place, our brains haven't automated anything. Everything is in our conscious memory, and our conscious memory is quite limited and finite. So when we put all this energy and effort into trying to do all these things consciously, we feel overwhelmed. But over time, these individual tasks get automated. So changing the gears or keeping the car in line with the road all become second nature to you. With practice, you'll find that these initial signals, the things that used to stress you out when driving, just become on autopilot. In this example, your driving instructor or whoever taught you or helped you to drive and helped you kind of along with the process rather than throwing you straight in the deep end is essentially your exposure therapist. The more you get used to your environment, the more comfortable you will eventually feel, and your fear would subside. Remember, if you ever feel any fear from, say, flying or public speaking, just realize that initially, without that practice, your conscious brain will probably feel overstimulated. It will be overwhelming, everything from the light on you, to the people looking at you, to the kind of over-heightened sense that you're on stage. All these things are overstimulated because your brain hasn't adjusted to any one of them just yet. But over time, you can individually tick off each one of those things by practicing in some of those conditions. Maybe you do it one at a time, from practicing on an empty stage with nobody and no lights. And once you feel more comfortable in that situation, you can move on to having lights, or whatever your fear may be. If you ease your way into it, gradually you'll find that you become more comfortable, and each one of those things will become automated. Once it becomes automated, you can then move on to the next thing and tackle that. I promise you, the more you practice with these things, eventually it just becomes more and more fluent and more comfortable. I'm going to end this video with 3 actionable steps that you can use to confront, dissect, and overcome any fear. Number 1, explore the root cause. If you understand the reason for your fear, where it came from, why you have it, it will help you more effectively overcome it. This can be done by speaking with family or friends, speaking with a therapist, or keeping a journal or diary. This last one can be done by writing down your thoughts on paper, your experiences, and your progression over time. This will help you challenge your beliefs and perceptions of the fear, prove to yourself that it's not as bad as you thought it was, and over time you can see steady progress. Number 2, face your fear gradually. As I said before, you need to take the strain off the conscious part of your brain so that you're not overstimulated and not worrying about every little thing that's going on when facing that fear. Focus on just one aspect at a time until you feel comfortable enough to move on to the next one. And number 3, practice self-care. Overcoming any fear or facing any challenge is made much easier when you take care of yourself. This is in terms of fitness, in terms of mental health, in terms of diet, etc. One of the best ways to prepare yourself for a challenging situation like overcoming your fear is to take away or lower your external stresses. Taking care of yourself physically and mentally puts you in the best possible position to achieve your goals. Exercise, for example, will help lower your stress, stabilize your hormones, and even boost things like testosterone, which makes you more likely and willing to take on challenges, even if they're difficult. That's all for this video, but realize that our biggest accomplishments come from facing our biggest challenges. Don't give up just because you've had a bad day or because things didn't go according to plan. Remember, progress reveals itself in the long term, setbacks reveal themselves in the short term. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.